In this video, we'll be covering logging, so the first thing we need to do is import the logging module. And so let's go ahead and create a logger. So we need to call the getLogger method, and then we pass in the name of the logger, and we are going to use double under name. The reason why we're doing that is going to use the name of the module. However, since we're running the script directly, it'll just use double under main as the name. And let's just go ahead and create a log message. And then if we go ahead and save the file and run it. So we get our log message. This is a warning message. Since we have no configuration at all, so it's basically working similar to a print statement. Without the configuration, we're not setting a destination to like a specific file or anything. We're also not setting a formatter or a level, so it's just giving us this as a default. Also, another problem with this is if we want to log debug messages, which is a lower log level. We will not see that level. So basically anything that's a warning or any level above, it's going to go ahead and show us. Everything else, it's not going to show us. So the only level above warning is an error. If we go ahead and rerun it, so we'll get both the warning and the error message. So obviously this doesn't do much, especially it's not much more than a print statement. So what we need to do to make this useful is add some configuration. And let's go ahead and do that. So let's go logging, and then we're going to use the basic config method. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure we're capturing the different levels. So let's go ahead and set that to the debug level. Okay, so now we should get all three messages. And also with the basic config, since we've called that, it's giving us the level as so it's giving us like a default formatter. So it's giving us the logging level followed by the name of the logger that we passed in and followed by the log message. And then so it's giving us different levels. Let's go ahead and add. So one level in between debug and warn is going to be info. So let's go ahead and add one of those. And if we rerun it, so we're getting all four levels that we are logging messages to. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up our own custom formatter. And let's just go ahead and create a new variable. Since it's going to be a constant, we'll put it in all capital letters. And we'll set up a couple of quotes. And so we're going to be converting these into strings. So the first thing that we're going to be using is the time. So this is something that's already built into Python, and it's very simple. We're also going to log the level name. And let's also we can also add the name of the logger. Finally, we need the message. And so in our config that we've set up, we can go ahead and pass in the format. And then if we rerun this, we accidentally deleted our import statement. And we also need a comma right after our first parameter. Okay, so the format has changed, obviously. So we're giving it the date of the log message followed by the level, the name, and then the message. And so the way that dates work, we can pass in a different format for the date to override it, which is what we'll do next. So the date FMT parameter, and then we can just go ahead and pass in our date format as string. So let's go %m. So it's going to just show the month, date, and year just between slashes. And we'll put hours, minutes, and seconds as well. And if we rerun it, notice that we have different formatting for dates. We can also log to a specific file, and we'll go ahead and add the file. What I'm going to do is just create a local path called log. And let's go ahead and give it a file name. And we're going to use a relative path, so log/myapp. And then let's go ahead and pass in a file mode, and we're going to pass in A for or let's just pass in W for write. Okay, and then if we save and rerun it, and we need a comma. This is the second time I forgot to put a comma at the end of a line. Okay, so we have nothing printed to the terminal. Let's go to our log file. Now, if we come in here, all 4 messages got written to a file since we added that to the config. And if we return to our original file, so we can make some changes. If we set the mode to W for write, it's going to, every time we write a new message, it's basically, or every time we run the script, it's going to erase everything that's in there and put that back. Before we change that to appending to the file, we're going to create a new formatter. We're going to format it in JSON format. So although what we have here will work, what we're going to do next is we're going to do some refactoring, because a lot of times when you create a log file or just create logging within your app, what you're going to do is have some sort of centralized logging. So you're going to be calling you're basically going to be grabbing a logger in all sorts of different files, and we only want to configure this once. So let's go ahead and put this in a method. So I'm going to define a new method called getAppLogger. And name is going to be what we pass into this. So what we can do from here, first of all, in order to get this work, we have to return the logger. And so down here, we have to call our method. Just cannot. Okay, so we fix that. So inside here, we can change this from name to the name that we actually passed in. And let's say that we want to change the name of the file that we're going to be writing to. So I'm going to go ahead and create a date string. But first, we need to import the DateTime module. So create a new variable. So we're going to get the current date, which is now. And then we want to convert that to a string. And we're just going to use a year, month, and day. Okay, and then we're going to set up a file name variable. This is going to be the destination file that we actually log to. So we'll use the name that we passed in, plus we'll put an underscore here. And then we'll use our date string. And so for file name, what we're going to do is use some string interpolation. So we're going to pass that file name into the log directory. Okay, so the final thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to change our format. Instead of this format, although this would work, we're going to be using a JSON formatted format. The reason is you might be using a centralized logging system to where it'll only accept JSON formatted log messages. Let's just go ahead and create a new variable. And we'll call this format JSON. So we're obviously going to need some curly braces. And I'm going to add a few here. So what we need to do is escape the quotes, just because quotes is what we wrap the whole string in. Okay, so our formatter it's going to look like this. So we're going to have all the same parameters as before. Actually, name we left out. So we're going to have our date, time, level, and message. And so what I need to do down here is change our format to format JSON. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so we got our new logging file here. So our basically name was the name of the, or main was the name of the logger, and plus the date dot log. And this is, so we can just go ahead and copy one of our messages. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that this is valid JSON. Okay, so we can just come over here to our JSON validator. And let's go ahead and validate. And we can see that we have created valid JSON. And it made this into a pretty print format for us. So it looks like this will work. So we can go ahead and hide this. So what I'm going to do next is copy in a dictionary that was used in a previous tutorial. And then let's just go ahead and log this as info. And we save that and run it. Let's go back to our log. And we can see that we've printed all this. And since we printed more sophisticated data, let's just go back to our, and let's go ahead and rerun this. And yeah, well, actually this is all nested inside of another string. So in that regard, it will work. Let's go ahead and hide this. So one problem that we have is we keep clearing this logging out every single time. So all we need to do is change this from write to append. And then if we go ahead and run it again, we should get more log messages. So everything that was there before, plus the new log messages. This concludes the video tutorial on logging in Python. Thank you for watching.